Welcome to this week's episode of Humans in 5.
We love taking the time to chat more about our various relatives in the human family tree. There are so many interesting individuals for us to chat about. That being said, it's often hard to visualize or really see what a lot of our fossil hominin relatives really looked like if we were to look at them face to face.
While researchers love making new fossil finds all the time, we're often working very hard to draw conclusions and make interpretations from very fragmentary or incomplete remains from these past individuals. We often have enough to make determinations about which species an individual may represent, but for some fossil groups, we don't really have enough skeletal information to know how they looked.
For example, the Denise Ovens are a group of individuals known and identified from some very fragmentary fossil materials dating from about 200,000 years ago to potentially 50,000 years ago. Researchers used advanced DNA analyses of genetic information recovered from these individuals to determine that Denisovans represented a previously known group of organisms that are genetically distinct from modern humans and Neanderthals, but interbreeding with Neanderthals and leaving genetic traces in anatomically modern humans as well.
That being said, all of these marvelous discoveries were made using materials that make it hard for us to really see the faces of the mysterious Denisovans. Some cranial materials have been found, but they're from parts of the head that aren't necessarily that informative when we want to look a past individual in the face.
To tackle this issue of figuring out what fossil individuals may have looked like, researchers at Hebrew University in Israel took a unique approach. Instead of looking at the morphology or size and shape of the fossils recovered, they decided to look at the genes instead to see if certain parts of the genetic code might reveal what these individuals looked like.
As a result of landmark research projects like the Human Genome Project, we have a rough idea about what certain locations in our DNA correspond to in terms of impacting the size and shape of our bodies and anatomy. Using this in-depth understanding of the genetic code, researchers looked at genes that may affect anatomical traits and skeletal development. Their research resulted in an appearance a little something like this.
From looking at Denisovan DNA, they think that these individuals had robust jaws, a low forehead, a large rib cage, and a wide pelvis, not unlike our Neanderthal relatives. They also think Denisovans had a relatively wide and protruding face. To see if their results are accurate, they conducted similar research to try and predict the traits of Neanderthals and chimps, with fairly accurate results.
This interesting new approach provides a wild new way of trying to figure out what our fossil relatives may have looked like if only we could stare them in the face. That being said, there are some issues with this research. The researchers note that they cannot, for example, tell how big such trends as wider faces may have been. They also note that traits like skin color and hair color reflect a certain amount of artistic interpretation.
Most importantly, until we find direct fossil evidence of Denisovan faces and other parts of the skeleton, we have no way of confirming if these compelling images represent the real face of this past group. But it does certainly go to show that new tools and techniques are constantly emerging in our cutting-edge field.
We hope you don't mind facing a past species this week, and we'll see you next time on Humans in 5.
And don't forget to subscribe!